Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name's Faheem.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all, and we are good
That's
rookies.
right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 63.
63.
63. Dang.
Let's go.
Yo, we're so excited, y'all. As you know, we're recording 63 weeks in a row. And
It's
this week
great.
we have an amazing guest that's going to drop a lot of knowledge, and he's doing amazing things for the culture. Faheem, please introduce who we got.
All right. Like you said, for the culture, we'll be able to really double down on his contributions to the culture. Someone, as he's mentioned, he's got a lot of bases covered in regards to sports. So it's going to be a good conversation we have going right now. Let's welcome Bryan Walker to the podcast today.
Bryan, Bryan,
Bryan,
Bryan,
Bryan,
That's a great
Bryan,
intro.
Bryan,
Love it.
Bryan.
Bryan.
Yeah.
We got to get you all pumped up. You know,
Can
like
we keep that going throughout the interview, just a little subtle in the background?
Bryan, Bryan. Oh my gosh, Bryan, how are you doing today, my dear?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. I was looking forward to the opportunity to talk to you all. I love your backgrounds. First thing I'll highlight in it, and I've seen some, I haven't seen all 62 episodes, but I've seen some and I've enjoyed
Nice.
it. So I'm excited to be here.
That is
Nice.
so amazing, amazing. And guys, we're gonna go more into Bryan and what he does for the culture in our segment. But Bryan, you know, the sports world this year has been quite exhilarating. A lot has been happening. Every week there's something new, something going on. And I just have to ask you, you know, as a father, as a husband, and a man for the culture, what's your thoughts on the latest? So Kevin Durant came out today and pretty much said we ate shit without Kyrie. Do you agree with him? What's your thoughts on that?
So I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm a huge Kevin Durant fan. Prior to him being here, he was on the other side and was tough for us to deal with. And when he got here, he brought a level of greatness to our team. So I still have a special place for him. The Bay Area, Oakland, we have a love for Kevin Durant out here. So I want to explain my bias on that one up front, but I will tell you that I don't believe him. I just don't. Kevin Durant right now is the best player in basketball across the board. He still is. He still has that capability to turn it on. There's some great players, but he has the power single-handedly to make some great things happen. That being said, I think it does make a big difference having Kyrie there. But I think that was a message to Kyrie. That wasn't to anybody else. KD was saying that directly to say, hey, man, come on. I need you out here, and to get the fans to get behind him. And like you were saying, Bryan, they're going, Kyrie, come on, get out here. Take this vaccine and get it going. So that's what I think it has a lot to do with. There's a lot, that sits on Kyrie's shoulders because he's committed to his agenda. Now, I don't fully understand his agenda sometimes, but he's fully committed to it. So I think that has a lot to do with his stance and how he wants to stay strong with his stance. And a couple of times that he's been right on with some of the decisions he's made too. So.
Yep. Like I said, he's a philanthropist first, an NBA basketball player second. Faheem, your thoughts? Is Kevin Durant correct? Can he not get it done without Kyrie? He needs him back?
Yeah, well, if he's saying he doesn't think they're much without Kyrie, I got to agree with him. Like, I think with Kyrie and Harden and the rest of their squad, they're serious contenders. Without Kyrie, we saw what happened last year without Kyrie. Like, KD is one of the best in the game. We can only do so much. Like, everyone needs help. And I think it's kind of admirable for KD to come out and say that blatantly, that maybe it could be a way to kind of take the pressure off. So if he doesn't come back, at least he's been upfront with people also. But I think it's a strong case. Like, missing Kyrie, who wasn't a top 75, but we know on most people's lists, if he's not 75, he's 76. He's in that range, definitely. Kyrie's missing that kind of talent. It's big. It's tough. So I kind of agree with what Katie's saying.
Okay. And my last thoughts, is Harden going to pick it up? He's been struggling. This new rule has been hard on James Harden. So do we see a turn? Is he going to make the adjustments to at least average what he did last year? You know what I'm saying? Because he has been having a really poor production. I think they said his free throw attempts are now half what they were before. So what y'all think? Will James Harden figure this out, these new rules, or is he going to be struggling all year? I'm going to go with you, Bryan.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that James Harden is easily impacted. He's a great player. He's been, even when he was coming off the bench back in Oklahoma, he showed he can score, but he's easily impacted. And we had clashes with him when he was with the Rockets, and it was against the Warriors. And although he would perform well, they were able to slow him down, and he needs to get over that hump of, okay, can I make this happen? Truth be told, one of the reasons why Kyrie would be really helpful is because that takes a lot of pressure off James Harden. He's in the same boat he was in before. He needs to perform now. And when he had one of the great players next to him, Chris Paul, he didn't do that. So he needs to really try to make it happen again.
Everything Bryan said. Faheem?
uh, Harden works too hard on the offseason. I mean, I'm not there, but I see like he's always coming up with new innovative ways to score. One thing with the rule change, yeah, sure, he's been affected by it. But some people adjust, like DeMar DeRozan is someone who has a history of getting to line, and he's maintained that this year. So, I mean, the way Harden gets to the line, yeah, a lot of it, I shouldn't say a lot. Some of it might be bailout stuff, but some things are legitimate. When he goes to the hoop and puts his hands out, he gives you no option but to hit him and cause contact. So it's early in the season. A lot of things are happening now that come the All-Star break will iron itself out, and this is definitely one of them. James Harden is an elite scorer ever, and I don't see why anything should change with that.
Top 75, James Harden. So let's see, guys, what happens with the Brooklyn Nets. We're watching y'all closely. Faheem, let's get into some hot topics.
All right. So the first one I want to get into is Zaire Wade. Yes, he was drafted by the Salt Lake G League team. Now, the only thing with this is his father, Dwayne Wade, is part of the ownership group of the G League team, which obviously leads to things like nepotism, etc. What's your take on that, guys?
So if you have YouTube, you can see that this is a player, a proven player. You can take the name off him. He's been all over YouTube for the last 2 years. I believe that I've paid attention to it, and he's impressive. So I think nepotism, can get you an interview, doesn't necessarily get you the job, in most cases. So I think it would be very quick for us to know if he can't back it up, but he definitely has the resume to show why he would be on any team. And I'll tell you right now, I'll hire my kids for the right opportunity that I know that they're capable of doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. If you don't watch basketball or follow the high school circuit, then you might jump to that conclusion for him. But Zaire is good. He's a good player. I think he's better than Bronny. I do think so. So so for me, him being signed, it's a smart move, and having him being signed close to where his father works, that's even better. Dwayne Wade can make sure that he gets the best trainers, best support. He's a part of the ownership group. That's just a smart business decision and a great play for his son. So nah, y'all, that ain't no nepotism thing. That's just a good, talented kid that needs some training. And I just think that because Dwayne Wade is a part of that organization, it makes sense to me. I mean, which father wouldn't want their son working or playing basketball close to him when he was also a superstar himself? Like, come on, guys.
Right.
I agree. It's a special opportunity to be able to be in the same place, as your son. So
also with the G League and also going overseas, kind of being the new way to bypass having to go to college. So you can actually literally go from high school and have that year and go on to be a pro. When we talk of LeBron, for instance, and there's talk of him wanting to play with his son, wouldn't this be the cleanest route to that happening, opposed to having to maybe wait for the draft? Perhaps Bronny does the same thing. He goes to a G League team, and LeBron kind of works out, or even so. Let's assume LeBron's in LA. Bronny, couldn't they just draft him to LA to the G League team, and then from the G League team just simply call him up, and then that's the cleanest way? You don't have to worry about balls bouncing your way with drafts and things like that. Isn't that the easiest way, would you say?
I have to investigate how you go from G League to your team. Are you fully signed to that team or not? So I don't know that part of it. The overall G League presence, though, is exciting to me for two reasons. One, we had people who were going to college just because they wanted to get an MBA. and if they have the skill and ability to play, let them start their on-the-job training, let them have their opportunity, start going the right direction, because they were finding other alternatives, right? People were going overseas, playing over there. So, that's one opportunity that we don't want to happen. We don't want our best talent to just leave the country. On the other side of it too, with the rule changes in college about being able to make money off your name, things like that, there's a lot of different things happening. Matter of fact, a friend of one of our distant friends within family, his son actually is a very good player, is now at a special school in Atlanta, where in Atlanta, they're actually, he's playing on a team. He's a high school student. He's still going to school, but he's actually on a professional team and he's getting paid to be on that team.
Mm. Isn't that the same thing like the overtime league that they just started also?
Very similar. So over time, you also get, I'm not sure the amount, but it's like a small, I think there's about 4 teams, and then it's a circuit. So they just kind of play amongst themselves, and they recruit the top high school players, and
Right.
they get wonderful trainers, they get financial literacy, they get health, nutrition, all that encompassed with exposure to a professional league. So there's many options now outside of the NCAA for these talented young kids to go, right? Because before it was like a forced thing, right? NCAA, but now these kids got options or play overseas.
Right.
Well,
Well,
the big
one,
thing for me, just to add, the big thing for me is that they're getting money in their pockets, because everyone else has
Yes.
been profiting off of them, and my thing is, it's okay for, for the company to make money, but where's my take home part of this too, right? And
exactly.
So
so these
true.
colleges have been taking money home, and so large amounts of it. So make sure it's being spread, share the wealth.
Good point. Nelly J, you just mentioned about the options. There is a new option that's supposed to be coming out in November for a new G League team that's been awarded to Mexico City. Yes, they're called the Mexico City Capitans. And I guess they're doing that because in Fort Worth, Texas, I guess that would be the Dallas Mavericks G League. They're playing, says they'll play home games in Fort Worth, Texas, they're having a Showcase Cup, and regular G League cities in the United States. So the only ones outside of the United States is obviously the Toronto's 905 team, our G League, and expanding to Mexico is their first venture of expanding outside of the United States. Now, I guess I'll just pose this real quick. The G League, a lot of things happen in the G League. It's kind of a test to see if they can implement it in the big leagues, being the NBA. Do you think that with Mexico City now being awarded a G League team very recently, let me get you on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you ranging the reality of possibly an NBA team being in Mexico City?
Bryan, you go first.
Ooh. Money talks. And I think that the NFL has shown that there's a lot of money to be made at having these games, in different countries. They've had multiple games in Mexico City. I know Raiders in Dallas played a lot down there. So I would actually have to at least put it at a 7, at least a 7. And I know that's an average number. So I don't want to go too high, but I can't go too low either.
Right.
I'm gonna say 2.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2.
Okay, so
I'm gonna say 2 because you know what? Like Mexicans and that culture, they're all about soccer, baseball. I think boxing is their top 3 sports. Basketball is not even in their top 5, I don't think. So, remember, there's also cricket. Like, you know what I mean? There's the sports in the Caribbean that people prefer. So, again, my 2 is that it won't happen within the next 2-3 years, but it'll increase in time. So maybe if the G League has talented, and honestly, like I'm hoping this program will help or entice Mexican athletes to go after basketball. Because I think once that happens, it's like in Africa, right? Once we saw more African basketball players, we saw a growth in the interest of basketball in the continent, right? So same thing, I'm going for Latin America. If we see more Latin folks into or do well in basketball, it'll be increased like baseball, right? Baseball is doing so well in Latin America because there's so many Latin American baseball players, right? So I think the same sentiments there as well.
So
So
that could technically be echoed even with Canada. Think
mhm,
about it. We've only had a team for 25 years. And before the same, I guess the same train of thought could be said, okay, well, in Canada, they have hockey, they have the Blue Jays in baseball. Like basketball would have kind of been, we even had the CFL, we had football, like we would have
it's
been a
true.
lot down the line. And
But we
just
are
by,
though. But think about it. We had an NBA team. The very first NBA game was between the Toronto Huskies and the New York Knicks.
right, in
Right? Keep keeping
1940
that.
something, right,
And then we
right,
lost the team because they weren't making money. And
right,
then in the 1995, we got a team again. So all I'm trying
right,
to say is that it has to grow within that culture. It's not a
mhm,
part of that culture yet. Once it
right.
gets there, of course, but that will be happening in 2-3 years. We have to see a Mexican athlete or Mexican coaches, people from that country do well for us to sell that product. That's how it
Mhm,
works. That's all it
right.
is. Yeah.
No, it's fair. Nelly J, you want to go to Fully Culture?
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight co-founder and COO of the HBCU Prep School, Bryan Walker.
Yeah.
Bryan Walker. So first of all, guys, the HBCU Prep School is an amazing organization. So I want to give you a little intro. So they're a publishing and education company that amplifies Black voices and Black joy in children's literature. A lot of children don't really learn about African American icons until Black History Month, one month a year. So, and I also saw something really cool on your website as well, Bryan, that in 2014 they found that 85% of states failed to accurately teach about the civil rights movement, which is insane to me. So
Mhm.
so only Black History Month is when kids are taught about slavery or what actually happened, the icons that helped move that movement. So what's beautiful about the HBCU prep school is that you're broadening the narrative of these icons in a wonderful, fun way for kids below the high school level. So Bryan, I want to give you and Claudia your
Mhm.
flowers today because Claudia
Thank you.
Walker is actually is your wife, right? And
That is
she was
correct.
the one who wrote this amazing book so it's called ABCs,
The
right?
ABCs of HBCUs.
Wonderful, wonderful. So walk us through this. What really made you guys think, okay, there's a gap here. How do we fill that gap for young children? Was it you being a parent or more your background in education?
It 100% was our love for our kids and wanting our kids to to understand who they were and know that knowing that imagery matters, not just for our kids, but all kids. We developed this idea. My wife first thought of it and said, man, she goes, I want to make sure our kids are going the right direction. A lot of times we struggle, right? Because the opportunities for the better schools a lot of times aren't in our neighborhoods, and we need to make sure we're improving those. But one of the things that we need to work on is making sure that they have the right tools to be able to teach them. And one of those tools is imagery, making sure they see themselves. They need to see themselves in success. They need to see themselves, in areas where they can make money outside of just, music stars, entertainers, and athletes, right? They need to know there's other opportunities. And they also need to know that we had huge contributions and continue to have huge contributions to what is the great history of this country and the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't talk about that enough. And truthfully, you said they talk about it in February, and that's if it's the right kind of school, because some schools don't even discuss it all. You might get a little MLK and a little bit about a peanut or two. But other than that, they don't talk about the great inventions and things that we've done. And at the same time, our people aren't in the best position that they need to be in. Statistically shows that we're not making the money we should be making. We're not in the right opportunities. We're not getting the education we need. Well, who's doing a good job of that is the first thing I would do in any situation. Who's putting people out there? Historically Black colleges and universities are. 50% of all of our Black doctors come from those 107 schools. And these are the statistics that you can check and confirm. 50%, more than 50% of our Black lawyers and over 80% of our Black judges come from HBCUs. they're doing great things in all areas of education. Veterinarians, zoologists, dance. There's so many different areas that HBCUs are preparing people for the next level. Me, myself, personally, I have a different story than my wife does. I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and I would have gone to an HBCU if I really knew about it. I didn't have the same opportunities because I wasn't from a town where it was talked about a lot. My wife is from Oakland, born and raised, and it's normal for people to go to HBCUs here. She's a graduate and alum of Spelman. She loved her time there, and I enjoyed my time in my school too. But when I went to visit cousins and family, I went, whoa, this is where I should be. And they also had a path that was a little bit better for them because they had opportunities of people that looked like them, who understood them and said, hey, look, let me tell you how to get here. There are other students that look like us that are struggling and trying to make their way through. They're able to do that, but it's a lot harder. So that's what the opportunity brought us to.
I love that. What you mentioned, a few things really struck me, because you mentioned not knowing about historically Black colleges and universities. I was someone like that as well. My uncle, he went to Harvard. And he actually worked at Harvard. He was the head nurse for their hospital. And I remember, that's not Harvard, sorry, Howard. See, again, Howard. Yeah, Howard, right? And I remember my uncle had this pride about going to Howard and working for Howard and getting his, because he was a nurse. But back then, there was really any Black male nurses. Because he was one of the earliest Black nurses. He worked his way up, running the hospital at Howard there. And I was like, he has so much pride about this Howard school. And I was in Canada, so I'm like, I don't understand why he has so much pride about Howard. And then only when I got older, I was like, oh, no wonder this school was historically Black, like university. It's one of the top, Black, like founded schools. So it has great history. And a lot of people that I admire, like Denzel, people that went to that school, and Chadwick Boseman, right? And it's like, what? And I didn't even know about that. And it's like, throughout my entire childhood, I was never taught about these schools, never even knew they existed. And when I got older, like you said, I was like, I wish I had the option to go to a school like that, because it wasn't even in my hemisphere. So what you're doing is going to really help young kids at a younger age learn about their options and say, you know what, PWIs aren't the only schools that will help me be successful, because they sell that. They sell it to us. So I'm loving this initiative. So question on, was there any challenges in creating the book and like getting it published at all?
So we've had a lot of opportunities to go with major publishers immediately in the beginning, because people saw the idea and thought it was great. But me and my wife talked about it, and we decided we wanted to publish it ourselves. So our book is self-published. We went and we got it printed ourselves. My wife built the website. I worked on a marketing campaign. We really worked pretty good together. We know the areas that we're good at. My experience in corporate America matched up with her experience in education. She's an administrator. She's also was a former principal. So we put our thoughts together and said, okay, you're good at this, you do this. I'm good at this, you do this. We divided things up. And a lot of times, occasionally we'll have an idea clash, but that's a great thing when we both have a great idea. And it's just like that little, the direction when you watch college basketball. Okay, well, it's your turn to go that way. Okay, no, now it's yours. It goes this way, and that's just how we make it work. And it's been a lot of fun. And we've included our children in it. A couple exciting things that we have coming up. We just created the ABCs of HBCUs anthem. So it is a very, very cool song with my kids. Drop us some bars. My daughter, my daughter London, my son BX, the same name as me, Bryan, are both rapping on it. And my youngest son Kinks is doing a little Migos ad lib in the background.
Okay.
And so we are actually releasing it Saturday morning on YouTube, and we'll do an Instagram live about it. So if you go to our website, you can pull it up. But it'll be on YouTube at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We also went out and filmed a really cool video to support it. Did great quality. The videographer is a graduate of Howard, and we were just talking about Howard.
Howard, yeah.
The videographer is a graduate of Howard, so he did the video for us, and it's exciting. And there's some great imagery in there. I guess my wife won't get too mad if I sneak a little. Let me put it this way: we took some celebrities celebrity graduates from HBCUs and recreated them with some great kids. How about that? So
Oh,
I'll let out a
that
little secret
is
about
a
it.
little tip. It's okay.
Yeah.
This will come out on Tuesday. So this will, guys, it
So
will already
check
be
us out on
dropped,
YouTube.
but we're
Yep.
definitely going to be sharing a little snippet of it on our
Mhm.
Instagram page and our social so everyone can see
Awesome.
it. We definitely got to support the movement for sure.
Yeah.
So
So-
hbcu.prepschool.com. That's the website.
Correct.
On there, I'm just so I do have a few questions. One, what's the age group? Go ahead.
That's a great question. So we intended it to be K through 4, K through 5, kindergarten through 4th. We, according to the parents, we're wrong. They said that it's definitely great for kids straight out the womb. Number one, so preschoolers, a great way to learn ABCs. And then we've also been told by high school teachers, are you kidding us? This is great for our high school students. And the reason
Oh,
being is number one, there's not a lot of great literature that's talking about this. It's also very vibrant. It's in a, I'm going to say this word correctly, a quatrain format of poetry. So it's a higher level of poetry setting for it. It covers each letter, each letter and has supporting information to it. So as you go through it, there's different ways you could look at it. So a younger child could look at it one way, an older child could look at it another way for the knowledge and information that's inside of it. So we originally were gearing it to K through 4, K through 5. But we were told that it's great for all those ages. We've had purchased all those ages. And what I'll add is we do have a couple of supplemental books with it too. We have a coloring book that is just ready to go for pre-sale. As of the time that we drop this podcast, it'll be available to people. And we have an activity book for elementary students. And we're working on an elementary book, an activity book for middle school and an activity book for high school that'll all supplement the book too.
Nice. Do you ship internationally?
We do.
Awesome.
So we just started. We had people reaching out to us. We did not, this was new to us. So we didn't start off shipping internationally. And we had some people reach out to us that were overseas. So far, they're all from the US. And they were like, we need this, we need this going for us. And we made it happen. We're learning a lot. We built the website our own. We learned the shipping on our own. We made some very cool mistakes. I think a thing is positive, right? So I'm like, okay, that's a cool mistake.
We made amazing mistakes.
Right. And to me, it's only fun to talk about as long as you don't make them happen again. So we learned it out and we have a great process. We really pride ourselves on our timeliness of getting you your order, on our accuracy, and on the love that we give you. So sometimes we throw a little surprise in there too, but it's just been a great ride for us. That's like, we feel like we're on ground zero still because we're taking off.
Right. My daughter is 1.5. And so right now, she's just gaining the basics of a vocab, right? One thing I'm very conscious of is having, black faces in her books that she could see from early. And that's why I was initially asking about the age group. Even if, like I said, 1.5, it might be, the literature might be a little bit above where she's at. There's still even have the images that we could speak to her and say, this is what it is. I definitely want to support you. So
thank you.
Definitely going to the website. I'm on it now, and you will be getting an international order from our family for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm the coolest auntie. I have 5 nieces, nephews, so they're all getting this book for Christmas. All of them, okay? They're each getting their own version too. No sharing. They're getting their own book, okay? These kids don't like to share, right? So they'll get their own books. But I also want to plug your upcoming book coming out in the winter of 2022. So it is called The ABCs of Black Wall Street. It takes readers on a nostalgic trip through the heart of Tulsa Historic's Greenwood District. And that's exciting. So guys, they're obviously publishing more books. This is great. I really, really hope that we can spread the amazing work that you and Claudia are doing, because this is important to the culture and for our children to understand how amazing our history are and our icons are 12 months, not just 1 month of the year. So
well
thank
said.
you, Bryan.
Well said. On the way for the culture, I do have one more question for you, Bryan. Okay, it's has to do with the NBA and their most recent, acceptance of the HBCU schools during the pandemic. Before that, we've never heard of any of these players going to these HBCU schools. I've always been a proponent that, you know what, if you can get players to go to these programs, you know, the media and everyone else will follow where the players are. And I think if you say, for instance, you had like high school Americans and they said, hey, you know what, instead of us going to, you know, the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the big ones, they say, hey, you know, let's go to the Tennessee States, or let's go to, like, you know, just.
Oh, he froze.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, you froze. I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. I'm not sure where I was in my train of thought, but.
You were saying go to Tennessee schools.
Okay, so that's where you ended. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
3, 2, 1, go.
You know, if we can get a lot more of these players going to, you know, historically Black colleges and universities, such as like Tennessee State or Howard or whatever school they choose, the media will follow them. Then they build a program, and they maybe, you know, get past the stigmatism of what's happening with the historically Black colleges and universities, and then, you know, that's how programs get built. And because I do think that with the majority of, you know, college players, high recruited college players being Black, why not go and support, you know, the Black community schools that are there? What's your take on that?
I think you said it exactly. And I think the key part about it is media, right? That's where the money is. That media money, advertising dollars, and what we need to do as consumers, because we're huge consumers in the world, period, but especially in the US, we have to demand more. We have to say, okay, hold on. Okay, for this particular company, I'm gonna be careful not to say a company name, but for this particular company, if you don't support this, then we're not gonna support you. Right. We have to say that, and we have to be that serious about it. And we have to get to the point where, and then the other side of it too is we have to hold the responsibility of actually watching it. We have to watch equally, if not more, the HBCU school than we do to our local state college that's not doing as much for our people. I told you the statistics earlier. So it's important that we support, if we're going to put all this money into, you know, buying this shirt. Well, okay, well, let me buy a shirt, you know, from Tennessee State, right? Let me buy a school, you know, a different HBCU school that's close to me. You know, a lot of people don't know there's an HBCU in California. I didn't know that until we did the research for the book my wife showed me. You know, so there's so much opportunity there. There's so many things that we just didn't understand, you know, and we have to get to the point where we look at it and go, okay, these are our institutions. It's not about whether you went to that school or not. These schools are doing good things for people that look like us. So what should we do about it to support them so they can continue to do what they're doing? So before we run out and we buy season tickets to the local team down the street that couldn't care less about us, doesn't mean you can't enjoy your team. I'm still yelling, go Raiders, go Warriors, right? You know, and go PSG too, if you like soccer. But what I am saying is it is important that we give that same love and support, you know, to Jacksonville State, to the schools that are doing great things for the culture, for our people.
You mentioned real quick, you mentioned Jackson State. So Deion Sanders, coach. So shout out to Coach Deion Sanders. And also shout out to Michael B. Jordan. He's got his HBCU Classic. That's going to be in
and Chris Paul has his too.
And also Chris Paul also.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that, you know, this movement is in the right hands. It's not just a corporate, because sometimes when you have corporations getting involved, it's not as genuine. It doesn't really, you know, we have some people who are really, you know, 10 toes down in the culture and doing it. So
yeah. That's amazing. Amazing. So y'all, we're going to have all the information, clips, links to Bryan, where to purchase, because you're going to buy his books. Okay. And Claudia's books. You're going to support the culture. All right.
That's
okay.
Right.
Let's go to our last segment for him.
All right. So last one is, let's go to That's Absurd.
That's absurd. Faheem, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
LeVar Ball is selling, actually, he's relaunching the BBB, Big Baller brand. And shoes are between $695 and $800. So approximately $700 for shoes.
That his kids won't even sign to. Okay, that makes sense.
Absurd.
Absurd.
I just like to say first, so I'm all for Black entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? Black entrepreneurship, I'm for it 110%. Here's where I think it's gone wrong. I see the vision, but the absurd part is you built your brand off of your sons. And if your own sons don't care enough for the brand to promote the brand, and you're selling shoes for $700, kind of seen as an absurd movement. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Bryan. You go first, my dear.
I think that's absurd. Gosh, I'm trying to put this in the right words because I'm
Like,
100.
how could I not sound obnoxious right now?
Yes, I'm 100% buy black. I want you to buy black. So let me say it this way. Here's how I'll say it. I'm going to swing it a little bit. So I'm sorry if this comes off political. If you're going to spend a ridiculous amount of money, because there's a lot of people who do, when I see people overspending for shoes, buy those ones then, because at least it's buying black.
Yeah.
But outside of that, that's absurd. That's all I'm going to say.
It's absurd. And also, right, I really think it's absurd because, first of all, the Black population, first of all, if you're a Black entrepreneur and you're trying to sell to the Black population, look at our numbers, look at our spending. And I get that, right? You're right. They're buying money for Gucci and other high-end designs, right? We get that. However, I feel like you're competing with higher-end sneakers and you're not going to do so well. It's a really poor business strategy, LeVar, to come in the marketplace with these types of shoes with what you are. Now, if LaMelo Ball was your sponsor and he was wearing the shoes and the way that kid's balling out, go right ahead. But if LaMelo Ball is wearing those shoes, you're not selling anything, LeVar, because your name isn't strong enough to sell high luxury and sneakers. So it's a really poor business decision. Whoever his marketing people are, they should all get fired. Whoever was his people decide, no, y'all are trying to appease his ego. It's not going to work. So I think it's a really poor business decision to try to sell sneakers only on LeVar's name and not on having at least Lonzo or LaMelo involved. Not the other one. Those two.
Jello, yeah.
At least get him, somebody.
Exactly.
But I'm saying, even with Jello can't save him. Jello can't save him. He needs LaMelo or Lonzo to help him sell that because his name is not strong enough, right? Mm-hmm. However, I'm correct. Like we said, Bryan, I'm happy to see a Black entrepreneur creating sneakers. I know Allison Felix has her sneaker brand. I know Shaq has Reebok now. Like, I like seeing it because a lot of our people spend lots of money on sneakers and kicks, right? Kicks, let's just call it. However, I just want us to make sure that when we go to remember, Kanye ain't selling to us. He's selling to people everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So just understand your marketplace, understand the market share, and really figure out, LeVar, who is your target audience? Because it ain't me or any of us on this recording. So figure it out, bro.
Yeah, you mentioned target audience. So, like I said, I'm all about Black entrepreneurship, but it almost doesn't. If the Black organization that you're supporting is not giving back, then I don't know how much of buying Black that is. You know, so. He has, really one of two options. He can go high end as he's going, or he can go the other way with, say, Steph Marbury or Shaq. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, honestly, if you're LeVar, like, I understand LeVar's in it for the money. And like I said, we're being kind of negative toward his movement. Like I said, I'm all for the movement. It's just the strategy. It's like, sometimes in business, execution is it's key. Execution is key. And I don't see how he's going to execute offering shoes for $700 with nothing to back for than what you accomplished 2 years ago. It's just completely absurd. So, but best of luck to you. And, maybe we'll keep an eye on it and see, because one other thing,
call me, call me, bro.
Do you remember the first time around? They did the BBBs and people were having a hard time even getting their shipment for shoes. Did you guys hear about this? There was like a logistics problem also.
I thought one of his sons had like the shoe broke. doing
Yeah,
the
and
game
that
and
did
stuff.
that
Like,
heard that
come on,
happen
man.
also. It's just
Poor
yeah.
quality
So
thing.
I,
So
I guess it's been enough time where he's hoping we forgot what happened 2 years ago, but I think the stock is kind of dropped, so kind of absurd.
kind of, it is absurd.
All right, Nelly J, let's put this episode in the books.
Oh, y'all, that was episode 63.
63.
So, y'all, as you know, Bryan, we love to give our special guests like yourself a chance to do a shout out. So the floor is yours.
Well, I'm gonna keep my shout out as it's always to my family and my kids, but my sports related shout out will be if you guys want to keep an eye on soccer, Mbappe is the player to watch right now. So I want to shout out Mbappe.
Okay.
Right now, he's the #1 soccer player that's out there. I know he's on the team with a few other guys that are pretty good. I wanted to
Neymar.
mention them.
Okay, yeah.
Take a look at Mbappe.
Right.
That's my shout out. Next time I'll shout out Steph.
Yes, and you will definitely be on the podcast again. My shout out's pretty quick. I want to shout out Bryan, shout out Claudia, the power couple, the power collaborators who are doing big things for the culture. I wish you guys all success. I'm hoping that this podcast can reach more listeners to learn about your movement, which is really helping our children learn more about these icons 12 months, 24/7, and not just only for 1 month. My second shout out is to Fred Van Fleet, who is actually launching his Bet on Yourself podcast that's geared to amplifying voices of BIPOC entrepreneurs in Canada. And guess what, Faheem and Bryan? It is premiering on my birthday, November 3rd. So
Okay.
holla,
Nice.
holla, holla. Yes, y'all. So this is great. And y'all,
Birthday.
thank you. And it will be Faheem's birthday on November 4th. So this will be dropping November 2nd, this podcast. So big up Faheem on your birthday, brother.
Big
Wish
up
you
on yours
another
also.
wonderful year. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Happy birthday.
Right. Like, listen, we're back to back like Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we do. That's how we do. Faheem.
We're back to back like Drake. Okay, so
Yes.
my shout is quick. Bryan, pleasure meeting you. Yeah, definitely something that I'm going to speak to my wife about for sure. I definitely want to shout out hbcuprepschool.com. And also everybody, if you have an opportunity, go check it out. The YouTube, you got the song, you got the video. What is the video? A matter of what, 3-4 minutes?
Yeah, it's a little short one.
Short one. So like, let's give them.
We're right on YouTube. I'll make sure you guys have the link. We'll be good to go.
Wonderful.
Awesome. So let's support, because this is we need more brothers like you out here. So we appreciate you. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. So let's put it in the books, Nelly J.
Woohoo. So y'all, that was 63. If you had a good time, if you learned, if you had a wonderful experience and you actually got some things in your noggin, please like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Faheem.
You know where to find us if you're looking for us. We're on all platforms for you. That's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 63. And we out.
Three.
Peace.